The Camping World Truck Series on Fox is sponsored by Toyota. Moving forward. Kyle Busch well out in front of this one, 2.7 seconds up on Todd Bodine and Mike Skinner, now second and third single file. T.J. Bell, the former road racer, having a great outing here in fourth, and Ron Hornaday in fifth. The series opened last week in Daytona under the lights, a hard crash by number 10, James Busher, and the number 4, Ricky Carmichael, two rookies getting involved in this one. Safety always a primary concern of NASCAR. Jeff Hammond files this week's State Farm Safety Report.
Well, Mike, when it comes to NASCAR racing, we all know that a head and neck restraint is required in all three series. But the other thing about these trucks, as well as the cars, there's a lot of similarities. The intrusion plate that's put on this side to protect the driver. You see the seat, much like what you would see inside of a truck or a Sprint Cup car, the same. The cockpit, very, very safe. You look across, you see the fire bottles. That fire suppression system, the same in both series. And also, when you think about the height of the greenhouse, to keep the roll bars a little bit higher as far as the drivers are concerned, again, to give them a little bit more headroom. These trucks and cars are very similar. If you're able to peel the bodies away, you'll find out that the safety innovations in both series are very, very compatible. Mike?
Thank you, Jeff.
And Mike, you want to know why the 51 Busch is so fast? Look at him, how his truck is handling. It's not all him. He has a big part in it, but the people that set this truck up and make it handle the way it does, that's why he's so fast. He's not putting a bunch of wheel in it, slowing it down. The truck is just nice and free through the turn, and he's able to get around this racetrack better than anybody.
Kyle Busch is the only driver who is racing in all three of NASCAR's Premier Series this weekend, and nobody is saying he can't run the table and win them all.
I don't think there's any question. Now, I want to continue to follow Chad McCumbee and Bobby Daughter, his crew chiefs, what they've done here. Remember back on lap 26, that first caution, they did fuel only. They were leading the race at the restart. They fell way back because of the older tires. But on this last caution at lap 44, they, along with Ricky Carmichael, they came on the pit road and got their next set of tires. So now they're even with everybody as far as tires left. But the one thing, they're almost in a league of their own with the exception of Kyle Busch as he continues to march toward the top 5. In fact, he just went by Mike Bliss in the 40 truck for 6. So that strategy worked out perfect.
It did. Good call. Another former driver, as I talked about, Kyle Busch, is Doug George is his crew chief. He's a former West Coast driver. He's from out here. Richie Waters been the crew chief on that 51 truck up until this year. They swapped. I think Waters is on the. He's on the 15 truck now.
Right, the team truck driven by Shane Sieg. I think Doug George, former champion of what was the Winston West Series.
Right.
The last couple laps, then. You're 80 to his 78.
And that's 43.80 that Kyle Busch just ran, that Doug George told him. Todd Bodine, actually by a score monitor, just ran a 43.78. A lot of the other trucks, with the exception of Chad McCumbee, is already in the 44-second bracket with this many laps on their tires.
And that's the strategy for the 51. He's so fast on the start of a run that seems to balance out right at the end of the run, though. But it's too late. Too little too late.
How has Ricky Carmichael done after that double pit stop coming up from the back? We'll tell you in a moment.
And there goes Kyle Busch. The kid is exciting to watch.
Kyle Busch is checking out.
He's got the lucky charm there.
A dominant performance today by Kyle Busch, winning the San Bernardino County 200. Kyle Busch 4 seconds in front of Mike Skinner. This race has 30 laps left to go, and Ricky Carmichael's fought his way back up to 13 after restarting back about 21st.
You know, Mike, NASCAR actually has a rule today that to race in one of the top 3 series, the Camping World Truck Series, the Nationwide Series, or the Sprint Cup Series, you have to be 18 years old. Now, that's a rule that was made about 2 or 3 years ago. In 2001, Kyle was driving for Jack Roush at age 16, and he was set to make his very first NASCAR Camping World Truck Series start here at Auto Club Speedway. But because of a cigarette sponsorship of the open wheel race that weekend, officials pulled him out of the truck and said, "You can't race." that right there is what led them to make that rule. You have to be 18 years old to race in this series or any of the other top 2 series.
I tell you, these two guys right here, they're going to wreck each other playing around. Todd Bodine and Mike Skinner. One will get in front, and the other will draft back up to him, and they'll bump draft a while, and then the other will get in front. They are having a race within a race.
They're about 4.5 seconds behind the leader, both past champions of this series and running very different lines on the racetrack. Chad McCumbee, the driver with that contrary strategy, now in 4th place.
Now, I think we need to set the stage here. We have about 28 laps to go. All of these trucks were on pit road last roughly about lap 46. We feel like that they can go somewhere between lap 85 and 88, which is going to be somewhere around 12 to 15 laps to go. I'd like to get Phil and Jeff involved on this. Guys, with about 12 laps to go, we know that everyone has one set of tires, but I've got to believe with that few laps to go, we will see a lot of just gas and go, enough fuel to get you to the end.
Yeah, Larry, either that or maybe right side tires in 1 can of fuel, just to make sure. Obviously, you got to remember, in the event of a green-white checkered, you have to have a little bit extra. So I think as important as tires are here, I think the drivers are going to be hollering for tires, and they're going to want at least right size, Jeff. What do you think?
And I agree with you, Phil. I think the other part of that equation, if you elect not to take on tires, you've got to be extra careful coming down on this pit road. It'd be real easy to lock up the right front, flat spot it, and then you'd have to change tires. So much is going to be said about these guys making a green flag stop. Have they really practiced it? And again, will you get caught speeding in or speeding out? So a lot of factors are going to come into play here, and that's the one thing that Kyle Busch does not need to do is beat himself.
But guys, just remember, if you want 2 right side tires and you're going to have to put fuel in, that's 2 green flag stops. Should we stay green?
Yeah, can't do it, Larry.
And I just don't think you would want to do that.
No, you're going to have to do fuel only. You're exactly right.
And see, that's part of that deal right there. We've still not got accustomed to the rules that are supposed to be run here.
I forgot it already.
I mean, and you're supposed to know better, driver.
Looking back at race history, the average green flag run to the checker here is just 13 laps. We have 26 to go.